Hey, hi there, everybody, and welcome to our show. We like to call it Three Broke Guys Handicapping. It's where we review one of the top racing cars from around the United States. We will attempt to come to a consensus on a pick four sequence from that track. Thank you for joining us. The Kentucky Derby Trail is continuing to heat up, and as we head south from actually, I guess it's a little bit east and a little bit south from Oaklawn Park last week, we are headed over to the Fairgrounds Racetrack in Louisiana. It is Louisiana Derby Day at the Fairgrounds. They've got a stakes pack card. They've got 13 races on tap, 8 stakes races in all stakes in the pick four on Saturday. My name is Rich Sharp, and each week I'll be joined by my friends, and they're also racing analysts. First, coming at you from his home in Staten Island, New York, our East Coast handicapper, Ray Tirado. Ray, how you doing? How you been?
Good. How are you? All is good.
Not too
Spring's
bad. Ray,
coming. Yep.
I think last year we talked about this. It's about, I think it's like a 3-hour drive from Oaklawn Park down to New Orleans. So if we could ever arrange that fabled trip down to Oaklawn, I say we just like piggyback it. We make it like a 2 or 3 week vacation, and we just keep on going right over to the Fairgrounds. We catch Louisiana Derby. All right, and up next, I'm not going to ignore him. He's our West Coast handicapper, and he's coming at you from his home. It's in Temecula, California. And Joe English, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing well, Rich, but I got 2 questions. One, do they have any divorce attorneys on the way between Oaklawn and Fairgrounds? Because I'm fairly certain we'll all need one by then. And then the other question I had for Ray is, Ray, how far was the mafia rub out? Maybe if I shouldn't say those words on the air. But, the shooting of the Don. How far was that from you?
The disgruntled kid. Okay, yeah.
How far is that from you?
From me, about 2 miles. Yeah, 10-minute drive. Yeah, told her it was a pretty exclusive neighborhood. So yeah. But it seems to be personal, so it was confirmed. I think.
I would think it's always business with those guys. It's never personal. But
the guy wanted to date his cousin, and he didn't approve. So I guess he got a little upset.
Anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
You think?
Yeah.
Back to you, Rich.
No.
All right. So just a quick update from last week. Well, last week, as I already mentioned, we were at Oaklawn Park for the big Rebel Day. Rebel times 2, as a matter of fact, is what they were calling it. And unfortunately, as a team, well, we didn't hit our pick 4. But you know what? I would be remiss if I did not share with everybody that actually watches our show, all 100 of you or so, and point out that one of our handicappers, if you watched our show last week, he did have this one, and unfortunately, he chose to pair off one of his choices on that pick 4 last week. But Joe English, the man in the black type, our Raider fan, that's why he gets the black type on this one, was right on the money on the pick 4 last week. He had, I believe it's Gallant Fox that was there in the finale. That was the 6th that held off Game Winner. He had the knot. What was that?
Omaha Beach.
Omaha Beach. I'm sorry. And he also had Joe. Who was the 9? Was it R Todd?
Rated R Superstar.
Rated R Superstar, and that was nice long shot that came out home there in the opener. Not real hard. You had Midnight Beast, so you only took 2 deep there. As you see there, I put my little question mark, so I'm remiss. I left out Joe's other pick that was in there. But if you watched our show, Joe was talking about the winner that was in race in leg number 2 there. And again, I lost the thought of my mind.
Long range toddy.
Prestige Rossman. It was a $1,900 pick 4. So nice going there, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. But to be honest, those races were so close that 6 inches either way, and we would have got the $9 pick 4 that we were talking about earlier in the show last week with Game Winner and Improbable both losing by diminishing margins or very short margins. So sometimes the luck goes with you, sometimes it's against you. But I'll take it. Thanks.
All right, time for a quick weather update here from New Orleans, Louisiana, and this is for Saturday. It's partly cloudy, high of 76 degrees. Not bad. Winds at 10 miles an hour and just a 10% chance of rain, folks. All right, a total of 13 races, and there are eight stakes on tap for Saturday. For today, we are focused on the pick four. It begins in race number 8, and it concludes in race number 11. Gentlemen, the gates are locked and loaded. The outriders are clear, and the starters ready to pop the gate. It's pick four post time.
Yeah, it's perfect weather Saturday, so let's get it going.
Heading on into, let's see here. I've got, it is, the first race up is race number 10. And hold on for 1 second. Let me pull up our trusty handicapping guide here. And that is the New Orleans handicap. It has 11 starters in the New Orleans handicap. And your morning line favorite is down there in post number 6. It is Silver Dust, trained by Brett Calhoun and ridden by Joe Killigan. Jack, excuse me. And let me just make sure here if I've got this correctly. Is the New Orleans handicap is a grade 2. Purse is $400,000 for 4-year-olds and upward. Excuse me, Ray, you're going to kick us off this week. You're up first in the New Orleans handicap.
All right, I found this race to be a little wide open. It's, these grade 2s could be grade 3s, grade 2s. So these kind of horses, they just usually just beat up each other, and it's a pretty wide open field. But I settled on 4 of them. I'm not using a favorite. My top choice here was a horse that I was following last year in the Derby Trail. Was number 10, Copper Bullet. He had a nice 2-turn comeback race on the 19th in the Razorback, second by a neck, and his bid was very late. So I think he'll like the extra 16th of a mile. He's a 4-year-old now. He's got some talent. I did have him in the future Derby future wagers, but he never got a chance to run because he got injured. But he could develop into a nice middle distance horse. And in the handicap division, you got Asmussen, you got Jose Ortiz. They're about 20%, and he's rated number 1 in the prime power. And I think he's gonna, based on his last race, he's gonna definitely improve and get this distance. It could be a nice, like I said, middle distance horse. I do like number 11, right next to him, Core Beliefs. We last saw him in the Pennsylvania Derby behind McKenzie, so he gave him 6 months off. Give him a little rest, or maybe he was injured. I'm not really sure, but now he's a 4-year-old also, so brand new 4-year-old. But he's got some back class. I mean, he was third to Justify. He was in both the Oro. He got a nice little win there in the Ohio Derby, grade 3. Got some good workouts, and he's a good spot for his comeback. And Drew and Peter Urton come from California, and he actually got Drew to ride this horse, who's a very good local jockey there. But they have limited history, but still these two combinations, Drew's always tough over there, so I'll give him a shot at 6-1. There's a horse here. There's a little off the radar here. Super Tappet, number 3. He had trouble in the Razorback after winning a nice Sunshine Millions race at Gulfstream. He's 11 for 16. It's 11 for 16 in the money, mostly in optional claiming races. So that transpires to our nice 3BG angle for the claimers to be running up in this area. And he can step up pretty nice here. He has a talent. He needs to improve a few lengths to hit the winner circle. But, you got Mark Cassie, you got Tyler Gaffion. So he's got some experience with the horse. Gaffion did ride him. So he's, before. And he had pretty much successful, closing pretty much. And if the pace is lively, this horse could be coming. I do like next to him was number 4, Noble Indy. We had followed this horse in he ran in also last year in Fairgrounds on the Derby Trail. Pletcher Velasquez, they're 42% last 60 days. And he had 2 nice races at this track. He had the preps over there in Fairgrounds, Vision Star, the Louisiana Derby. And he ran pretty good. He actually won one of those, got some points, got him in the Derby. So this is probably his ideal distance. And he's 15-1. So he's back on his supposedly track that he likes. At 15-1, I'll go for that. And he ran this. His last race was just to stretch his legs. It was a sprint. It was I would say it's a prep for this race. I think the goal this is the goal for him. So he should be in the lead pack, close to it. And I'm curious to see what Johnny V does with him, to make him, because he has one on the front end. Hasn't not much success closing. So I think he's gonna be folded place here, and he should run a good race. So, guys, I go 10, 11, 3, 4 in my opening leg. Joe.
Thanks, Ray. I wanted to mention something right off the bat that because the fairgrounds does things a little differently, and they allow you to enter horses in different races. And you'll notice that, well, if you handicap this card, you already know that both Silver Dust and Bandua are entered in both the New Orleans handicap on dirt and in the Morgan Muniz on grass. From social media, what I gathered was that both Bandua and Silver Dust are running in this race and are not running in the turf race. So I wanted to make sure that was out there. And the other thing I know, or at least I thought I heard, again from social media, this is from Nick Tamero, the guy who Rich and I met at Delmar a couple of years back, that Noble Commander was not going to run in this race. I don't even think he made the trip, or I'm not sure exactly what the situation is. He ran at Fairgrounds in December, but I don't think according to Nick Tamero, he was not going to go either. So we're actually down to a field of 10, at least as of what I heard on social media again. And I was with Ray on Copper Bullet. And the only reason I'm not more confident in Copper Bullet, and it's funny, we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on our show or if we talked about it, just the three of us separately, that the Jose Ortiz, Steve Asmussen combination, the jockey trainer combination, you think those two guys over the past 2 years, yeah, they would be something good. They are 3 for 57. Correct. 3 for 57. That's a robust, 5-6% as a combination. And the funny part is, I'm betting them regardless of that, because I saw Copper Bullets run, and Coldfront just ran huge. He was up near the lead. He took over on the far turn. The fractions were very fast. He was just better that day, and Copper Bullet ran a really nice race to run second. And obviously we saw Rated R Superstar ran third in that race, who had some trouble come back and win the Essex last week, as we obviously earlier discussed. So I just think that the Razorback handicap was a better race than the Fairgrounds handicap, or the Mineshaft handicap that some of these are coming out of. So Copper Bullet was my top choice. I agreed with you, Ray, about Super Tap It. He was my third choice on the ticket. He did have a little trouble. He generally likes to be a little bit closer to the lead. He did not run badly. He made a good run around the far turn. He just flattened out, maybe because he had too much to do, generally because he's somebody who likes to be a little bit closer to the lead in his races at Gulfstream. If you see the last two races, he was within 2.5 lengths of the lead in the Sunshine Millions race, and in the prep race for that, he was within a length of the lead. So he likes to be a little closer to the pace. He had a lot to do and maybe flattened out. So I would give him another shot at 6-1. He's my third choice. My second choice is a horse that Ray did not mention, and I'm really kind of surprised because he's from Ray's backyard, and that's the 8, Mr. Buff. Also at 6-1. And the funny part is, I think that he's, because in part of the scratch of Noble Commander. Unless Noble Indy does it, who's going to run with him? Who's going with this horse early? I don't know if anybody's going to go with this horse early. Obviously, Junior Alvarado comes from New York to ride this horse. John Kimmel, it's funny, does not really have a lot of success in graded stakes races, but he does have a positive ROI, and the reason he has a positive ROI because he was the trainer of Bar of Gold, who won the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint at Del Mar at 66-1, and I know we were there for that. But that's been his only graded stakes win over the last 2 years. But again, positive ROI because of, when you hit a 66-1 shot, obviously you're gonna have a positive ROI. But I just think he's got a very definitive pace advantage. So unless somebody either goes on some kind of suicide mission or maybe it's Noble Indy. Somebody's going to go with him that I just don't expect to be there early. I think he's got a chance to set the same slow pace he set in the Jazz the last time, and he won that race by 5.5 over Sunny Ridge, who I liked in his last race. I can't remember the name of the race, but I think he's got a definite pace advantage at 6-1. I'll take that. And the other horse I liked was a little bit was the horse that I mentioned who is running in this race, who is not running in the turf race, and that's Bandua. And the only reason I mean, maybe it's not the only reason. The factor obviously was a Grade 1 winner, and he actually won the Rebel around 2 turns uh, in his 3-year-old season. So it's not as if a mile and a 16th was out of his range. Maybe a mile and an eighth might be too far. And the only other problem I had with this horse was that I looked up the dam. The dam did not was I think 4 for 20, but all of her wins were on turf, and none of her offspring have won a race on the dirt. So I'm not so sure that the factor alone can carry the day. But the horse has a little bit of class. He's third in the Secretariat, finished second behind Synchrony in the Fairgrounds handicap last time out, off the layoff. So he's got some talent. I just don't know if that turf form is going to transfer to the dirt. But at 12-1, I'm willing to take the chance. So just like Ray, I did not use Silver Dust. I did not use the favorite, but I went 4 deep. In order for me, it was 10, 8, 3, and 9 in the New Orleans handicap. And Rich, I will send it on over to you. So far, neither one of us has used the favorite, and we went 4 deep. What did you do?
And I guess I should have prefaced that for the audience if you're wondering what the guys are talking about there. Was a little bit of a Twitter challenge that came from yours truly. We tend to be a little bit of a chalk heavy show here and things like that, and that is most likely regarded because of yours truly. I eat the chalk more than anybody that I know. And so tonight I challenged our handicappers. I did give them the opportunity. I said, hey, you know what? If you guys want to use the chalk, if you want to use the favorite, go ahead. But that shall be your only pick. You can have as many picks as you want as long as you didn't use the favorite in any given race. And I see that Joe and Ray have gone 4 deep in the initial race. Neither one of them using the favorite. I like that. I also did not use the favorite. You guys are going to love this. As it turns out, because of the news that Joe just gave there, that the horse that represents my crush in this race, Phil D'Amato and Irad Ortiz. Can you imagine that? But if they're not going to be in the race, I'm actually singled in this race. I've only got one pick to give you. It is not the favorite, and it's the horse that you've already heard, unfortunately. It was Copper Bullet. So it's not Irad Ortiz, but it's Jose Ortiz. Didn't realize that they had such a poor rating or a poor record. Not going to let that stand in my way. And I do love the combination of Asmussen and Jose Ortiz. Excellent performance there in the Razorback. And didn't really need to say anything more than what I heard from the 3 guys from the 2 guys. We've got I've just got the 10 then is my only pick. Let me go back on here and correct this because I had the 7 initially. Joe, you've got 10, 3, 8, 9, and Ray, you've got 10, 11, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And I will come on back to you guys and I'll move us along here and see if we can get back on schedule night for us. How's the radio? All right. Let's see here. What have we got going? We are going to move along to, if I'm not mistaken, race number 11. And this is the Muniz Memorial Handicap. It's a Grade 2. Purse is $300,000 for 4-year-olds and upward. Hang on one second. Let me bring in the odds. And well, this says we have 11 starters on there, but I believe I see one that was from the previous race. And the morning line favorite is in post number 7, and that's Bricks and Mortar, trained by Chad Brown and ridden by Irad Ortiz. 2-1 on the Fairgrounds morning line. And Joe, over to you. Who do you like here in the Muniz Memorial Handicap?
Okay, I'm glad you started with me, Rich. Thank you. Again, just like I mentioned earlier, Bandua and Silver Dust. I thought this was a field of 10 originally. Bandua Bandua and Silver Dust are running in the New Orleans Handicap, which is the race earlier. In addition to that, First Premio and who was the other horse? Final Copy. They both, from what I understand, again from the Fairgrounds reporter Marcus Hirsch at the DRF, they are both scratched. So according to them, and according to those other two horses, we're down to a field of 6. So to be fair, the 2-to-1 morning line is probably not going to be accurate. Everybody's probably going to be somewhat lower than they were before. Plus, but I don't think it makes any difference. I think Bricks and Mortar would still be the morning line favorite anyway. But based on that, based on the fact that there are only 6 in the race, just looking at the 6, this race is completely paceless. And I'm going to make a prediction, and Ray, you can hold me to this on the show next week. I'm going to guess that the 11th race, the first quarter of the 11th race at the Meadowlands, might be faster than the first quarter of the 11th race. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that risk. I'm thinking that they might go 26 and change in this race tomorrow, because if you look, there is. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, the only horse that I've ever seen even close to the lead is Mark It Off, and he's been running. You know, when he was close to the lead, it was in the 12 furlong race, not a 9 furlong race like this one is. So, to be honest, I don't know. Maybe Hot Springs will go to the lead. I see some past performances where he's closer to the lead. But if you look at the recent performance, you know, he was obviously a lot further back than that. Anyway, I'm just thinking that this race is completely paceless. Nonetheless, I am going to do what I did in the first race. And yes, Rich, I'm going to do it. I'm going to skip Chad Brown, and I'm going to skip Bricks and Mortar. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I think there are other talented horses in the race. If I thought he was the only horse in the race who had any ability, or the only horse, I mean, he may be better than everybody else, but the horses in this race have ability. Horses we've seen and handicapped for the better part of 4 years on this show. And one of those is going to be my top pick, and that's the number 2. Our old friend Divisadero, who's been around for, obviously he's 7 years old, but this time he gets a significant, I'm going to say significant jockey change. I don't know Javion Toledo as well, but obviously he's been riding this horse for quite some time. But I think he gets a very nice upgrade to Florent Giroux. He comes out of a nice race at Tampa. The winner of that race, Inspector Lindley, who you'll hear about shortly, had a really nice inside trip, got away with, riding the fence and got up to beat Divisadero last time, when Divisadero, based on his usual style, is that he's 3-4 wide around the far turn. So he had to use a lot more. He had to cover a lot more ground. Let's just put it that way. Obviously, we know he's a Grade 1 winner. He's won at the distance 3 times, and if I remember right, those 3 are all the race before the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic, the race before the Derby. I know he's won it at least twice, if not 3 times, at 1 1/8. And maybe they're prepping him for this, but his runs have been solid of late. You can't really. I mean, he hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle. But in a field like this, a field of 6, it's a jockey's race, and I'm going to take the chance that Florent Giroux is a very significant upgrade over Javion Toledo. And again, like I said, I'm not sure what the morning line was on him, but it's obviously not going to be nearly what it was because of all the scratches. Then my guess is they might do an adjusted morning line. So Divisadero is my top choice. My second choice, the horse I can't throw out because he's just different over this track, and that's the 3 Synchrony. He's 4 for 4. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's first off a layoff, second off a layoff, third off the layoff. He could be running on Mars. He could be shipping down from another planet. It doesn't seem to make any difference. He loves this track. Mike Stidham and Joe Bravo obviously do well because he's been the rider for the last, he's been the rider for all of his wins of late, all of his last 5. But again, he just seems to run his race at this track every single time. He had a nice trip last time. He got to save ground around the first turn. He didn't have to go. He angled out late in the stretch, which is obviously a longer stretch at Fairgrounds. But again, he's 4 for 4 at this track. Loves the track. He knows the track. He's the home team. So my guess is he gets the last at bat, and maybe he gets home in this spot. Maybe he can beat Chad Brown and Bricks and Mortar because Chad doesn't ship a lot of horses in there. Again, Bricks and Mortar is talented, but like I said, because of Rich's challenge, I decided to throw him out. The other horse I'm going to use is the 8, and that's Inspector Lindley. And in part, it's because Shug McGahee's barn is just absolutely on fire of late. If you look at that Jose Ortiz connection with Shug, 50%, 6 of the last 12. That's a pretty good number. And like I said, over the last 30 days, McGahee's barn's won 35% of the time, which is basically double what he normally does over an extended period. And his ROI is 4.11. So just because, I mean, they come out of the same race, he and Divisadero, and they were 1-2 in that race. That race also had Hart in it, if I remember correctly. He finished 4th at Tampa that day. That was a pretty talented field. They were close up at the end. So I couldn't use Divisadero without using Inspector Lindley. And again, in part, it was because of, Shug McGahee's barn is just going so well right now that every horse he sends out has to be given a look. And with that Jose Ortiz combination, 50%, 6 of 12 is nice. So I went 2, 3, 8 in the Muniz at Fairgrounds Race 11 on Saturday. Ray, did you go with Bricks and Mortar and only Bricks and Mortar?
Yes. Yeah, I ate the chalk. Yeah, I'm very impressed by this horse. He's done hardly anything wrong. He's 6 for 8, 2/3. Running. He lost to Yoshida, Voodoo Song, who was just when Voodoo Song is loose on the lead, and nobody catches him. So so he's solid in this spot for me. He had 2 comeback races. Back in December and January and Gulfstream, and he ran in the turf invitation over there, and he won it. He's a good horse. He's got some good figures. He's a 5-0 now with 8 starts, so he's still pretty fresh. And I think he's gonna have a big year in the turf division. Hopefully, if he stays intact. No shame to losing to those 2. Like I said, Voodoo Song and Yoshida. He's my single, and for Chad Brown, I ride Ortiz. So yes, that's my only horse. That's my single. Rich.
Well, I can't disagree with what I've heard from either of you. Actually, on that, I love Bricks and Mortar, and I'll tell you on my individual ticket where I'm not kind of holding myself to my own ridiculous rules and anything like that. I'm pretty sure that Bricks and Mortar is going to make it on there because there's some chalk a little bit later on that comes in that I actually do single here. But for the purpose of our ticket tonight, I started with the 8 down here. Joe already caught it. Shug McGahee and Jose Ortiz is a pretty hot combination, 50% win percentage. He is a closer, so he's going to be coming down the stretch. And that's my top pick. So I did put that as my top pick. And then I backed it up because I figure as long as I'm not using Bricks and Mortar, I might as well use the hometown favorite. I really wanted Bandit to be in this race. So this is the second race in a row where I lost my top pick. So I had Adam Bishiza and Jack Sisterton as my top pick initially, and Joe just broke the bad news to me a few minutes ago. So my other choice besides the 4 was the 3, Synchrony, who is 4 for 4 at this track and 3 for 4 at this distance. That's Michael Stidham and it's Show Bravo. And the horses won 3 of his last 5 races. There's a lot to like here. And again, another deep closer that's going to have to deal with Bricks and Mortar, who, as Ray mentioned, just came out of a big money race down there in Florida. But those are my 2 picks. I'm going to go ahead and go 8-3, and I am going to eschew the favorite here in this race. Ray went right before me. Ray did use the favorite. He's got the 7 in there. Again, no argument with that. And then we've got Joe. Joe kicked us off. Joe started with the 2, and then he's also got the 3 and the 8. Let me come on back to you, and we will move along to, I believe it's the Oaks. Hold on one second.
Indeed.
All righty. Get this up here. And yep, it is race number 12. They're going a mile and 16th on the main track. It is the Fairgrounds Oaks. And this is for fillies 3-year-olds only, and it is a grade 2. Hold on one moment, and they're bringing the odds for us. This is, if I'm not mistaken, 8 starters, and your morning line favorite is in post number 2, Serengeti Empress, ridden by Jimmy Graham and trained by Tom Amos. And the horse is 6-5 on the Fairgrounds morning line. Ray, you're up. You got the ladies. Who do you like in the Fairgrounds Oaks?
Well, I had 3 horses here, and I gotta take one out. Based on the rules, I will apply. I will stand by the rules,
Tonight's
and
rules.
I'm gonna throw out the chalk. Okay, he was my top pick, but you know what? I'm gonna take a chance. You know, so he's out. My new top
She,
pick.
She.
Oh, she. I'm sorry. My new first top pick will be number 6, Eras 2, which in Spanish translates to "It is you."
It's you.
Uh, and from 5 lifetime races, 4 of them are at the fairgrounds, so she has a little experience here. She's getting some respect now, being 6-1, because she's gone off at 31-1 in the Silver Bullet Day and 25-1 in the Rachel Alexandra, and she's been second and third. So now she's 6-1. She gets Jose Ortiz, which is gonna reduce the price also. She definitely needs to improve some lengths here to get at the top choice. But in these races, as the distances get longer, still mile 16, but still, she has nice, a solid foundation, and with a good pace, she can get there. So I'll take the 6-1. I also like number 4, Sweet Diane. This horse could be a very good long shot at 8-1 with Joe Bravo, Michael Stidham. She's got speed, and speed in these races are always dangerous. I know the favorite has speed, but if Sweet Diane could get loose or something happens to Serenity Empress, or if she tires, mid race, whatever, Sweet Diane can have a good position. She's got some talent. She won a big race over in Tampa, the Sun Coast, and she kind of weakened a little bit because she might have needed that race off the layoff. But yeah, she wasn't a good race. The race before that, she had a good figure, going a mile. So she's got a little bit of talent there. And, with the speed, Joe Barrow, who's has a tendency of sometimes lulling them to sleep on the lead. Most of them are tough, but it's a good dirt race anyway. But Sweet Diane could go out there and just take it. So those would be my 2 picks there, with Eris 2 number 6 and Sweet Diane number 4. And I am tossing the chalk in this race. Joe, you have any other opinions? Any Oaks? This is for the could be a prep for the Kentucky Derby Oaks.
I have an opinion, and unfortunately, it disagrees with your opinion. What I was looking for when I looked at the race was somebody who I thought might be able to go and get in front of Serengeti Empress, because basically in the 4 races she's been on the lead, or I should say in the races that she's been close to the lead or on the lead relatively early, not counting the maiden race, she's won by 4.5, won by 19, won by 13.
Mm-hmm.
She gets on the lead. For some strange reason, she gets really brave. And I looked at Speed Debt, and I looked at the other horse, Crescent City Pretty, and I see Slew Good to be true, but pace-wise, I just don't think any of them are what I'd like to call need the lead types, and I don't necessarily know that any of them are really going to want to go on a suicide mission to try and hook Serengeti Empress early, and get her locked in some kind of duel, or make her just go ridiculously fast on the lead. I mean, last time they let her go at 24 seconds, and that race basically was over at that point. And because I don't see a lot of new shooters or anybody who I think is going to get in front of her, unfortunately, this is one of the situations where I decided to eat the chalk. Amos's barn is doing well. He's about 30% over the last few days. His connection with Jimmy Graham Obviously, Rich can show you 27%. I just think she's. If it's funny because I'm trying to use Rich's philosophy because these horses have, she's beaten these horses already. I'm like, okay, I'm looking for a new shooter from a new place who I think can beat her. I just don't see it in this race. So I decided to take the 6-5 or 3-5 or whatever you're going to end up getting with Serengeti Empress. Hopefully, I go deeper in the early legs and I'm alive to a decent, at least if I get a decent price in one of the first two legs. We won't get that $9 pick four again like we were threatened with last week. But again, I just think Serengeti Empress is better than these. I think Jimmy Graham knows how to ride her. I think he's going to get her to the front. And again, if they let her go in any reasonable amount of, in any reasonable, 23, 24, she's probably going to be long gone in the stretch. So I just went with the favorite this time. I went with Serengeti Empress on top. Rich?
Well, I'm glad to see that Ray went at least a little deeper here because unfortunately I'm on the exact same horse. I was going to ask for some accolades here because Joe Ray, I actually went 2 races in a row without using the chalk, which has got to be some kind of a record for me on this show.
We can go back in the archives, Rich, and find out.
Well, we'll have to go back because we've been on like 4 years, and I'm pretty sure that's like that's.
Hey, your rules, Rich.
Yeah, exactly. That's close to yeah. Joe, that's close to going on the wagon for me, be honest. and then at some point I was going to have to fall off, and I'm going to fall off into the Serengeti Empress just like you did. Tom Amos and Jimmy Graham, as you pointed out there, 27% they hit together. The horse has got phenomenal speed, and I do believe that speed does play at this racetrack. And it doesn't look like there's anybody there. Again, you see it there, 62% going to the speed type, so they need the lead as far as that's there. And I don't see anybody in this race that quite has that kind of pace. I guess as Joe brought up, if somebody goes out there and can deny her the lead, like we saw in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and puts her down, but I don't see anybody that's here that fits that bill. I don't want to wax on too philosophic here. I just singled. I only used the 2. Joe just singled. He only used the 2. It was Ray who kind of championed us there. He's got the 6 and the 4 in the Fairgrounds Oaks. And let me come on back, and we will head on into the finale. It's going to be the Louisiana Derby. And I apologize. I did not have a chance to look this up. Is this a 100-point race? Is the first of the 100-point races as far as the Kentucky Derby is concerned?
It is.
All right. Hi, Avery.
I think 50 for second. So even if you run second, I think you're pretty sure you can get into the gate if you're willing to go.
Sorry about that. Hold on a second. I'm getting all kinds of little delays here on my. So it's race number 13. They're going 1 mile and 1/8 on the main track. It is the twinspires.com Louisiana Derby, grade 2. Purse is $1 million. It's for 3-year-olds only. We have 11 starters, and your morning line favorite is going to come at you from post number 6. It is War of Will, trained by Mark Cassey and ridden by Tyler Gaffleone. And he is 6-5 on the Fairgrounds morning line. And Joe, take us home in the Louisiana Derby.
Sure. I went back to the same well I just went to with Serengeti Empress. War of Will, again, has beaten all of these before. There are a couple of new shooters in the race, but he's been so solid. He seems to. It's funny because the way he runs, or maybe I shouldn't say the way he runs, the trips he gets remind me a lot of American Pharoah, and basically sit off of very reasonable or even above average fractions, and he just sits right on the outside, and he just pounces when the need arises, and he goes and he draws away from these horses. And he's done it twice or before. I think he's going to do it again. And the reason I say that is if you look back at the Risen Star, I look back at the chart of the race, and the horses that ran behind him, horses that ran second, third, fourth, and fifth, were 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th at the half mile. So basically, all the other speed collapsed. Yet War of Will went on with it as if there was no big deal. So basically, he ran the speed horses into submission and held off the closes as if there was nothing going on behind him. So I just, based on that and based on the way like I said, he kind of reminds me trip wise of the way American Pharoah would run early. He just sits a nice trip right off the speed, goes when he wants to go. Gaffleone stays aboard. Obviously, Tyler knows that this is his Derby mount. As long as everything goes right and things don't go poorly and God forbid something bad happens, Tyler will get into the Derby with this horse. I just think he's better than these. I think he's better than all the closers. He's going to get first run just like he always has. And I don't think a mile and an eighth is an issue. Being out of Warfront, out of Sadler's Wells mare, the distance should. I mean, I actually, it's amazing. It's almost as if might be too short, based on that pedigree. But Cassie Gaffleone have a nice connection. And again, he's been aboard for the last three, and they've all been daylight wins, and this horse has obviously improved a lot since even a decent fifth in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. So War of Will for me is a single. I'm going to get beat by somebody else, and he's going to, whoever that is, if he gets beat, is going to be a nice price. So based on Rich's rule, I just went with the 6 War of Will in the Louisiana Derby, right?
All right. Well, once again, I lost one horse. I was 60 because I'm trying to spread here.
This rule
but
was
it's
for
okay.
You, right? Not for Rich. This race was for you. This rule was for you. It's like either single or go deeper.
That's
man.
right. Well, usually the favorite is our insurance policy. So, so either we lose or you don't. I guess the goal here is not to win anything small, right? Either you lose rip it up, or you're just going to win a lot, which is good. Take a chance here. Yeah, World looks tough. I mean, he definitely looks tough here. Great horse, like you said, great trips, and he just could be better than these. I mean, he's been outstanding on dirt since he got the moved over from the turf, and he's got that type of style that you're right, Joe. He can just draw away from these and just beat these into submission. He's probably one of the best horses in the East Coast right now for the Derby, so he's there. But I'm gonna try and beat him tomorrow because you can't win every race. I'm gonna go with number 8, Country House. He was second in the Risen Star, coming from way back. And I think maybe the extra 16th can make a difference. He exploded off that pedestrian pace with a late pace of 123, breaking his maiden in that race. So he has some good kick. Last race he was coming too, and of course Wild Will was gone by that time. But Billy Mott, Blue Size, they might maybe attack him a little earlier if they can. Get him going maybe a little earlier. Because he was a little closer than Aqueduct, and he won a decent second in his the race before that. So Country House for me, 9-2. I do also like number 4, Sueño. This is one of those California horses coming over here, and Keith DeSormo. He was second in Sham to Gunmetal Gray, who has turned out to be a decent 3-year-old. He can rate. He was actually also second in the Southwest. So he's been running pretty good, and he's been making bids, but just not fast enough late. Corey later on gets back on board, and if the pace is hot, he might be coming. So Sueño for me with this extra little distance. I do also like number 10, Spinoff. We got here our friend Top Plusher, the Triple Crown race. What's a Triple Crown race without Top Plusher? He ran a big. I mean, for me, he ran a big race in the optional claiming in Tampa, and this could be his breakout race. Pletcher has a tendency of doing this. Dumping these horses in the optional claiming race, like 9 ones over one. They run big, and they kind of like hiding their talent on these races. And this could be he could be a horse to battle War of Will. He starts to pick up a few lengths. He'll be in second race for layoff, so he might have run a little better here. He had been off since last year, so that was a big race off the layoff. So either he's gonna bounce or either he's just gonna move on, move forward. So I think he'll move forward. I'm not really sure how far he wants to go. Being out of a Gone West mare, I know Gone West can lick 2 turns for nothing. He can only go a mile. One of my favorite horses. But he's a hard spun who has some distance in him. So you never know. But he's 8-1. So Pletcher 8-1, he'll probably get chopped down a little bit, but it's still a good price. I got a few long shots here. Number 3, Lemonite. He hasn't been done much. He's been trailing most of his fields, but making small runs to get a little piece of purse. But now, a mile and 8 could be a different story. He might just stretch his legs out a little longer and get up there. He's been coming, so maybe assistance will definitely help him. See Rasmussen, and Jose Ortiz. There we go, that combination again. So, what was it, 3 for 57? No, it could be. By the end of the day, he could be 559. Hopefully. But they could wake up. And he's been solid to meet Asmussen. This horse found trouble in the Risen Star. And, just for a fifth. So if he can get a good trip, he might have a good run here. He's 20-1, so he'll be worth my ticket. Number 9, Bankit, another Asmussen horse. Similar to Lemonite. He's been trailing fields, making short runs and, getting up there for second, fifth, and sixth. So, maybe now on this track you'll find some good pace. I rather tease Asmussen, they might wake up. And it's a nice jockey change here, although Jose was on him last time. So, brother to brother, they probably talk over dinner about this horse and, face it. He was also second to Long Range Toddy, that Joe's horse from last week. And I think we all had him last week. We had him. And we should have had him, and we did have him. But anyways, Bankett's 21 also. So I'm going to go 5 deep. I'm going to toss the favorite. Although I would use them in my ticket as an insurance policy, so I will go 6 deep. But under the rules, I will toss them and go 5 deep. 8, 4, 10, 3, and 9. That's my Keno machine without the favorite. Rich? We don't hear you.
Rich, we don't hear you.
I leaned forward and hit my mute button. I apologize.
Okay, there you go.
I feel like I was doing so well there for those first 2 races. So again, for the audience, I was the one who sent out the tweet that challenged my partners and sat there and said, let's try and leave the favorites out. And if you want to use the favorites, then that's got to be your only selection. And after I got done with the horses races and went to and then I looked at my form, I couldn't help but think, I should have just not left that little out for myself in there, because sure enough, here I am. I came into the Fairground Oaks, and I had not used the favorite in those first 2 legs, and yet I found myself falling in love with Serengeti Empress, and that's only seconded to way I feel about War of Will. The horse has done nothing wrong since he set foot on the dirt. That's for one thing. He's got 3 wins in a row. He's an excellent horse. Got Mark Cassie, and as Joe mentioned a little bit earlier during his analysis, he certainly looks like he's the one that's going to get Tyler there to the Derby. So I couldn't toss him. If I'm going to play the pick 4, honestly, for myself, even looking at the odds and like that, this would certainly be a horse that I would single. And I would probably be more inclined, maybe even go after Serengeti Empress in the previous leg. But I ended up just using just the 1 here. I only went 1 deep. War of Will. So I've got the 6 as my lone play. As you heard before me, thank God for Ray. He went right before me, and Ray's got his gun loaded up there. He went 8, 4, 10, 3, 9 here, and as he told you, he would have used the 6 as well if he was allowed to by the rules. And Joe went led off for us there, and Joe singled as well. Joe also liked War Will for the 6. So I came back to you. I took off my glasses. I tried doing that for seeing if I could.
Powerball, man. Ray's playing Powerball with those numbers in that last race.
And I will
I'm
bring
in
up.
for 650, 625 million.
That 625 was what I saw.
Next week you'll see me in a tuxedo.
Well, if I hit for 625 million, you won't see me, period. unless you put a cardboard cutout of me
I'll
up.
be in Vegas.
See me at all.
I'll be in Vegas.
I'll be on some island somewhere.
All right. Well, what you see over here on the screen now, this is this is what that madness represents that you just sat through and listened to us all kind of blathering about.
No, the consensus, we're gonna have everybody. So
this is this is our pick four
a
ticket.
little bit of you, a little bit of me.
And despite the fact that I was trying to keep out our favorites here and things like that, sometimes you just can't do it. So in leg number 1, we have just the 10 and the 3 out of that. So we can come back and we can revisit that because you guys both have 4 selections and we only ended up with the 10, which all of us had. And then the 3 because Joe and Ray had some consensus, but you guys weren't able to match up any of your other 3 picks of your lines together. Okay. In leg number 2, look at that. And strangely enough, with all that, you only got 2 picks out of this one. We got 7, 2, 8, 3. So the 7 is Ray's top pick. He singled the favorite. We've got the 2, that's Joe's top pick. And the 8 is my top pick. And then the 3 is Joe and I had some consensus there. In leg number 3, we've just got 2 choices. The 6, that's Ray's top pick. And Joe and I both singled on the favorite there. That's the 2. And then in the finale, again, we just ended up with 2 picks, so we can come back on this one to get a look at it if we want to. And that's because Ray's got the top pick of the 8, and then me and Joe have both got the favorite with the 6 with War of Will. That would give you a $16 pick 4, where that rivals our pick 4 of last week. It was $18, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
All right, gentlemen, would you like to add any of your choices here from leg number 1? That's the only one, at least, that we don't, just have the favorite. We don't have the favorite at all in leg number 1.
Can we add everybody?
Just to buy yourself another race.
Had a lot of trouble getting through the first 2 legs in the last, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Can we put all in? Can we put everybody? I don't mean just our picks, Rich. I mean everybody.
Yeah, you're like, you just want to hit the all, but
I'm saying all burger, baby.
ALL.
ALL. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, then you can say, I got it.
You couldn't get knocked out in the first leg if you got everybody.
That's right, yeah.
And of course, Silver Dust.
What do they call it on TVG? I'm going to buy the race, right?
This is locking in the favorite, basically.
Oh, yeah. I know, yeah. If we do that, guys.
Because we don't have
audience, pound on the favorite if we do that.
We don't have the favorite, given that Copper Bullet isn't bet down to the favorite.
Right, yeah, sure.
We don't have the morning line favorite.
The morning line favorite. So there you go. How about that, Joe? It'll be a $48 pick 4 if we include all of your guys' picks from the first race.
That's coverage.
And that's a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that's
right.
much better.
For those listening, please, we all single Silver Dust.
Yeah. And keep that in mind. All right.
Keep that an option.
I mean, with the rules the way they were, being that he's a 7-2 morning line favorite.
Yeah, that was.
We would all
yeah.
deeper than that.
Well, and again, I will have to think that through. So if we see how this works out, and things like that, I think there are some caveats that rule. Wherein, again, if you have a 7-2 morning line favorite, then that should take it off. If you have
like 2-1, yeah.
If you have 2 favorites that are one is 9-5 and the other one's 8-5, you should be able to use them both.
Rich, I would say, Rich, any favorite under 2-1, either you have to use the favorite.
Yeah, 2-1, yeah.
Or you go deep and you don't use the favorite at all. But if
Right. Yeah.
anything over 2-1 is, and again, if it's 2-1 in a 6-horse field versus 2-1 in a 12-horse field, it's a lot different. But I would say anything less than 2-1, you either use the favorite or you don't use the favorite.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
You do it. No.
And any lab is worth an experiment, and this was
right.
you guys got to witness it tonight for Three Broke Guys Handicapping.
And we're the guinea pigs.
Yeah, we're the guinea pigs.
Inject me, bing.
I'm going to come on back to you guys for one final time. For all of you watching, if you enjoyed Three Broke Guys Handicapping, well, we'll be back again next week because that's what the Three Broke Guys like to do. We'll be taking a look at another exciting card. Gentlemen, are we headed down to my home away from home?
Every week is a Triple Crown prep, so we're here.
Yeah, we're down to, if I'm not mistaken, Hollandale Beach, Florida. It should be Florida Derby weekend.
Oh
next
yeah,
weekend.
it should be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
5 weeks.
Wait a minute. No Dubai World Carnival?
Is it Florida Derby? Is it Florida Derby week?
It's actually
because I'm not skipping the Florida Derby for Dubai.
It's next week is both the Dubai World Cup and the Florida Derby.
Oh, okay.
So, well, if I had my way,
I knew we would. We never
do the Florida
Dubai World Cup, but
You don't even have a pick for over there.
All right, gentlemen, that's all the time we. All right, that's all the time we have for tonight. It's always a pleasure to handicap with the two of you.
Yes, it is. Always a pleasure.
For Joe English and Ray Torado, I'm Rich Sharp. Thank you for watching Three Broke Guys Handicapping. Good luck and good night.
Good night.
Noches.